Okay, let's be honest. Have you ever brought home a beautiful new houseplant, you're full of hope, and you just watch it slowly, sadly give up on life? Yeah, you are definitely not alone. It is one of the most common and frustrating experiences for plant owners everywhere. But what if I told you they're not just giving up? They're actually trying to tell you something. And today, we're going to learn their language.
We've all heard it, right? Maybe you've even said it yourself while staring at a sad-looking fiddly fig. The idea that some plants are just divas, They're destined to break our hearts. And it's a super common belief, especially for those popular but kind of tricky plants.
But hang on a second. Let's reframe this. What if the problem isn't the plants? And what if it's not even you? What if we're all just missing one absolutely crucial piece of the puzzle? Because understanding this one thing can completely change how you see and care for your plants. To solve this mystery, we have to become detectives. We need to go back in time and maybe thousands of miles away to investigate where our houseplants actually come from. Because the secret to making them happy, it's literally hidden in their DNA.
And here it is. This is the key to everything. Your Monstera from Central America, your fiddle-leaf fig from West Africa, pretty much all of our favorite houseplants evolved in the exact same type of place, the understory of a tropical rainforest.
I want you to picture it for a second. It's warm, it's steamy. Sunlight isn't just blasting down, no. It's filtering through layers and layers of leaves, creating this soft, dappled glow. The air is so thick with moisture you can almost feel it. And the ground, it isn't just dirt. It's this loose, chunky mix of bark and leaves that stays damp but, and this is key, it never gets soggy.
And this is where it all goes wrong. This is the disconnect. On one hand, you have the plant's evolutionary paradise, high humidity, dappled light, something to climb. And on the other hand, well, you've got our living rooms. Low humidity from the heat or AC, stagnant air, soil that's either bone dry or a swamp. It's really no wonder they're struggling. We're basically asking them to thrive in an alien world.
So our job as plant parents isn't to be perfect, it's to be translators. Our whole job is just bridging the gap between the rainforest and the living room. And the good news, it is so much easier than you think.
You've seen this on every single plant tag, right? Bright, indirect light. But what does that actually mean? Well, it means your plant doesn't want to sunbathe. Its leaves evolved for generations to catch these gentle, filtered rays. Putting it right in a hot, south-facing window is like taking someone who's lived in rainy Seattle their whole life and just dropping them in the Sahara Desert without a hat. It's going to scorch their leaves.
Okay, now for the #1 killer of houseplants, water. We either love them to death or we forget them completely. Here's how to mimic a perfect tropical downpour. First, just check if the plant is actually thirsty. Stick your finger in the soil. Then, if it is, water it deeply, saturate it, until water runs out the bottom. And this last step, this is completely non-negotiable. Always dump out that extra water in the saucer. A plant sitting in a puddle is like a person trying to breathe underwater. It leads straight to root rot.
So we've covered light and water, the two big ones. But to really level up your plant game, we need to think about a plant's physical needs. And the Monstera is the perfect case study for a crucial element that most owners completely miss. Your Monstera deliciosa is what's called a hemiepiphyte. Yeah, I know, it's a fancy word, but it describes a totally brilliant survival strategy. It starts its life way down on the dark forest floor, and it literally climbs its way to success, using trees as a ladder to get to that sweet, sweet sunlight high up in the canopy. And those long, stringy things it grows? Those are aerial roots, designed to grab onto tree bark and pull the plant upwards.
So this is why just leaving your Monstera to flop over isn't going to cut it. When you give it something to climb, like a moss pole, you're not just supporting it, you are sending a biological signal. You're telling the plant, hey, you're secure, it's time to mature. And that signal is what triggers the growth of those huge, iconic, split leaves that we all want. Okay, so you're giving it better light, you're watering correctly, you're even giving it support. But, things still go wrong sometimes. The key is to stop thinking of yellow leaves or brown spots as failures. Think of them as messages. Your plant is communicating with you. So let's decode a few of these common messages. If you see yellowing leaves down near the soil, your plant is basically screaming, I'm drowning. Remember that rainforest floor. It's moist, but it's never a soggy, waterlogged swamp. What about those crispy brown edges? That's a cry for humidity. Our homes are basically deserts compared to the tropics. This table here gives you a quick guide, but the real key is to always ask yourself, what is this telling me about my little mini rainforest?
Of course, even a healthy rainforest has bugs, but a balanced ecosystem keeps them in check. And you can create that same balance at home with just a few simple habits. Always quarantine new plants. Think of it like a customs check for your home. Every time you water, inspect, and clean the leaves. A healthy, clean plant is its own best defense. And trust me, these simple steps will prevent most pest problems before they can even start.
So after all this, what's the real takeaway here? It's not about memorizing a huge list of rules. It's a single, powerful shift in your perspective. You just have to learn to think like a rainforest.
So this is your new mantra. Don't just stick a plant in your house, try to recreate its native habitat. Don't water just because it's Saturday, water with purpose. Remember, light isn't just decoration, it is food. Support isn't optional for climbers, it unlocks their destiny. And when you see a problem, get curious, not discouraged.
And one last thing, and this is a really crucial safety note. That Rainforest Survival Toolkit, it includes some natural defenses. Plants like the fucus, monstera, and so many others contain something called calcium oxalate crystals. Now, they're not deadly, but they could be very irritating if they get chewed on by a curious pet or a child. So please, always keep these plants safely out of reach.
So I'll leave you with this question. When you look at the plants in your home, do you see them as just static green decor? Or do you see them as living, breathing roommates that have just moved here from a very, very different neighborhood? Because if you can see them as the latter, you'll find they're not finicky at all. They're just waiting for you to understand where they come from.